Have you ever wondered how differently your day would unfold if your very first actions delighted the heart of God? Have you ever felt that your mornings slip by too quickly before you have time to give Him the love you wish you could offer? And have you ever longed for a quiet, simple way to begin each day with peace, the kind of peace that only comes when your first steps belong to Him? Saint Thérèse of Lisieux believed that mornings were sacred, not because of grand prayers or long readings, but because of small beginnings offered with great love. She taught that God is pleased not by brilliance, but by sincerity, not by extraordinary effort, but by childlike simplicity. Every morning becomes holy when the first thing you offer God is your heart, in the smallest possible ways. Saint Thérèse of Lisieux. Before we continue, subscribe if you desire to walk this little way with us, where simplicity becomes a path to divine intimacy. Thérèse lived her mornings quietly. There was nothing dramatic about them, no thunderous visions, no overwhelming experiences, just the soft sound of dawn breaking over the convent, the faint rustle of fabric as she rose, the humble offering of a new day placed silently into the hands of God. She believed deeply that holiness begins before words are spoken, in the first intention, the first breath, the first quiet movement of the soul. That is why she often insisted that the smallest actions done with love give joy to the heart of Jesus. Those actions did not need to be visible, impressive, or even noticed by others. They only needed to be sincere. Imagine your own morning for a moment. The light creeping gently through the window, the stillness before the world awakens, your feet touching the floor, your mind still soft with sleep. In that fragile moment, the day can be shaped, not by the tasks ahead, but by the love you choose to offer. Thérèse would say that God bends toward you in those first seconds, that He waits not for eloquence, but for a small gesture of love, that the entire course of your day can shift when the first intention of your heart is to please Him. And these gestures, these small offerings, are not complicated. They are moments of attention, moments of choosing gentleness, moments of placing the smallest fragment of your morning into His hands. Throughout this journey, we will explore 6 small ways, simple, tender, and deeply aligned with the little way, that can please God every morning. They are not tasks, they are invitations. They do not require strength, they simply require love. Each one reflects the heart of Thérèse, humble, trusting, radiant with sincerity, and rooted in small acts of devotion that rise like incense toward heaven. So take a breath. Slow down. Let your soul soften, because the way you begin your morning can become the way you begin again in God. The first small way to please God every morning is rooted in something Saint Thérèse of Lisieux believed with all her heart. Before you speak to anyone, let your first thought belong to Him. It is simple, it is quiet, it is hidden, and yet, in the eyes of heaven, it is immense. This small act begins even before your feet touch the ground. The moment your eyes open, whether gently or reluctantly, let your soul whisper the simplest offering, Jesus, this day is yours. Thérèse believed that such a beginning transforms everything that follows, not because the words are impressive, but because they place the very center of your day into God's hands. She once wrote, "It is the intention, not the magnitude, that gives value to our actions." That intention, offered in the first second of consciousness, is like lighting a candle in a dark room, small, but warm enough to change the atmosphere. Picture Thérèse waking in her small, austere cell at the convent. The room is dim, the air cool, the wooden floor still quiet from the night. She does not leap into her duties. She does not rush. Instead, she pauses just long enough to lift her heart to God. It is not a dramatic moment. It is not emotional or poetic. It is simply sincere. This is what pleases God, a heart that remembers Him first. Now imagine your own morning again. The alarm rings, perhaps too loudly. Your mind races toward responsibilities or anxieties or unfinished tasks. Your hand reaches for your phone. Your heart begins to hurry. But in that very instant, you can pause, just one breath, just one small shift in intention. You can choose to begin your day the way Thérèse did, not by doing more, but by offering the little you already have, your first second, your first thought, your first awareness. This tiny gesture sets the tone for the entire day. It tells your soul where its anchor is. It tells God that you desire Him more than noise, more than distraction, more than the rush of routines. Thérèse would say that this simple morning offering is like placing a small flower into God's hands, a flower so delicate it could only be given by a child. And God, who delights in childlike love, receives it with joy. You may not feel holy when you wake. You may feel tired, distracted, overwhelmed, or even discouraged, but holiness is not a feeling, it is a direction. When you offer your first thought to God, you point your heart toward heaven, even before fully rising from your bed, and that alone pleases Him deeply. Because what God cherishes most is not perfection, but priority, the quiet declaration that He comes first, even if only in the smallest way. In the next block, we will explore the second small act that pleases God each morning, one that aligns your heart with humility and prepares your soul for grace. The second small way to please God every morning flows directly from the heart of the little way. It is something Saint Thérèse practiced constantly, something hidden, almost invisible, yet powerful enough to transform the entire rhythm of your day. It is this: offer God one small act of humility before anything else. Not a grand sacrifice, not a heroic promise, just one tiny, honest acknowledgement of your littleness. Thérèse believed that humility was the doorway through which all grace enters. She wrote, "To be little is to recognize our nothingness, to expect everything from God as a child does from a father." In her spirituality, humility was not self-hatred. It was freedom, the freedom to rely entirely on God's love. Imagine this moment. You rise from your bed. The world is still quiet. Your thoughts begin to form slowly, like soft ripples on still water. Instead of rushing to tasks or anxieties, you pause and whisper something simple. "Lord, I need you today." That small admission pleases God more than you can imagine, not because He wants you weak, but because He wants you real. Humility is truth, the truth that you cannot walk through the day by your own strength. Picture Thérèse in the convent at dawn. She kneels briefly beside her bed, not to recite long prayers, but to place her heart in the right position. Her humility is gentle, like a child approaching a loving father. She does not list her faults. She does not condemn herself. She simply acknowledges her need for God. Then she rises, confident, peaceful, and ready to love. This is the beauty of morning humility. It steadies you, it prepares you, it softens your inner world. It invites grace into every part of your day. We often imagine that God is pleased with accomplishments, discipline, or perfect prayer, but Thérèse teaches that God is most pleased when you simply acknowledge your dependence on Him. When you begin your day this way, you start with truth, and truth brings peace. Think of your own mornings. Maybe you wake with worries. Maybe your mind jumps ahead to things you cannot control. Maybe you feel the weight of yesterday's failures or today's expectations. But humility gives you a gentle place to begin. Instead of pushing forward in self-reliance, you pause and set your heart in its rightful place. You say, without shame or fear, "Lord, I cannot do this without you." That small phrase becomes a quiet bridge between heaven and earth. It opens your soul to divine strength. It anchors your heart in trust instead of anxiety. It allows God to pour grace where pride once stood. Thérèse knew that humility in the morning shapes humility for the whole day. It turns irritation into patience, hurriedness into gentleness, and weakness into openness. And God is pleased, deeply pleased, when His child begins the day not with confidence in self, but with confidence in His love. In the next block, we will enter the third small way to please God each morning, one that transforms your inner atmosphere with surprising tenderness. The third small way to please God every morning is something so gentle, so effortless, that many overlook its spiritual power. Yet Saint Thérèse of Lisieux practiced it with devotion, not as a duty but as an act of quiet love. It is this: offer a small act of gratitude before doing anything else. Not a long list, not a deep reflection, just one simple thank you, sincere, personal, and childlike. Gratitude, in Thérèse's eyes, was not about ignoring suffering or pretending that life is easy. Rather, it was an act of trust, The recognition that every breath, every sunrise, every chance to love again is a gift from the Father. She once said, "Everything is grace." For Thérèse, this was not poetry. It was the deepest truth of her life. Imagine this moment in your morning. You sit on the edge of your bed, still half asleep. The light is soft. The air is calm. You breathe in, slowly, and whisper, "Thank you, Lord." It is almost nothing. But in the heart of God, it is everything. This small act of gratitude pleases Him because it acknowledges His tenderness woven into the simplest details of your life. And Thérèse believed that this kind of gratitude opens the soul to joy, not a loud joy, but a quiet, steady joy that accompanies you throughout the day. Picture Thérèse walking through the convent garden at dawn. The dew glistens on the grass, tiny drops sparkling like small jewels. The air smells of earth and quietness. She pauses, closes her eyes, and thanks God, not for miracles, but for the ordinary beauty that so many overlook. Her gratitude is small, like her little way, but it reaches heaven like incense. Think of what gratitude does to your heart. It softens it. It clears away the fog of fear. It quiets the noise of worry. It shifts your attention from what is missing to what is present. And God smiles when His children notice His gifts, not because He needs praise, but because gratitude opens your heart to receive even more grace. Maybe your mornings are heavy. Maybe they begin with stress, exhaustion, or sadness. Maybe you wake up carrying yesterday's burdens. Even then, especially then, gratitude becomes a lifeline. You don't need to feel grateful. You don't need to force emotion. You only need to offer a small thank you for one thing: the gift of being alive, the gift of a new beginning, the gift of God's presence that never leaves. That small thank you becomes a seed. And throughout the day, it grows. It grows into gentleness. It grows into patience. It grows into hope. Thérèse teaches that gratitude is a spiritual posture, not an emotion. And when you begin your morning with gratitude, even the smallest amount, you awaken your soul to see God in everything. In the next block, we will explore the fourth small way to please God each morning, one that has the power to transform your relationships and soften even the hardest moments of your day. The fourth small way to please God every morning is one of the most beautiful expressions of the little way, something Saint Thérèse of Lisieux practiced with unwavering tenderness. It is not outwardly impressive. It is not dramatic. It is in fact entirely hidden. But in God's eyes, it glows like gold. It is this: choose one small act of kindness in advance and offer it to God before the day even begins. This simple intention, formed in the quiet of morning, becomes a secret mission of love. Thérèse believed that the smallest acts, when chosen deliberately for God, delight Him in ways we cannot comprehend. She wrote, "A word, a smile, is often enough to lift a suffering soul." And she lived this truth constantly. Imagine Thérèse rising from her bed before dawn. The convent is silent, its walls holding the gentle weight of prayer. She stands still for a moment and chooses a single act of kindness she will offer that day. A smile to a difficult sister, a word of encouragement, a small sacrifice done in silence. She does not need to know when the moment will come. She only prepares her heart to give. This is the beauty of morning intention. It shapes the day long before the day unfolds. Now imagine your own morning. You stand before the mirror, or sit on the edge of your bed, or begin preparing for the day. In that quiet space, you choose one act. Today, I will encourage someone who is discouraged. Today, I will listen patiently without interrupting. Today, I will smile at someone who rarely receives kindness. Today, I will forgive quickly. It does not need to be perfect. It does not need to be noticed. It simply needs to be chosen. When you choose a small act of kindness before the day begins, you awaken your heart to love. And this pleases God profoundly. Not because He needs your kindness, but because He knows what it does to your soul. It softens you. It makes you more attentive. It aligns your steps with compassion. Thérèse believed that mornings were the best time to form such intentions because the heart is still tender. It has not yet been overwhelmed by tasks, conversations, or frustrations. In that early calm, you can plant a seed, and that seed will bloom throughout the day. Think about how different your day becomes when you enter it already prepared to love. Suddenly, interruptions feel like opportunities. Difficult people become invitations. Ordinary moments become sacred. This is the little way in its purest form. Simple, hidden, intentional love. The world might never see the kindness you choose each morning. But heaven sees. Heaven delights. Heaven responds. Because God is pleased not by greatness but by goodness. And goodness is built one small intention at a time. In the next block, our final block, we will explore the last 2 small ways to please God every morning and close with a deeply spiritual, poetic and cinematic ending, just as você sempre pede para Saint Thérèse of Lisieux. The 5th small way to please God every morning is something Saint Thérèse of Lisieux practiced with remarkable constancy, not through words, but through the quiet offering of her heart. It is this: begin your day by accepting, with peace, the small crosses that will come. Thérèse did not wake up expecting life to be easy. She woke up expecting God to be present. She believed that every irritation, every delay, every misunderstanding, every small discomfort could become an offering of love when received with patience. She wrote, "Everything that happens to us is a gift, even when it does not appear so." Imagine this moment. The morning is unfolding gently, but you already sense that the day ahead may bring challenges, perhaps tiredness, difficult conversations, or responsibilities that weigh on you. Instead of resisting, instead of dreading them, you breathe and whisper, "Lord, I accept the small crosses of today for love of you. Not the big ones, not the impossible ones, just the small ones, the inconveniences, the interruptions, the imperfections of daily life." This pleases God because it mirrors the humility of Christ and the surrender of Thérèse. It turns ordinary frustrations into extraordinary opportunities for love. It transforms the mundane into the meaningful. Thérèse believed that when we accept small crosses with love, we grow in patience, compassion, and peace without even realizing it. And God delights in this quiet courage, the courage of a soul that chooses love over resistance. And now, we arrive at the 6th and final small way to please God every morning, the one that gathers all the others into a single breath. Begin your morning with a simple act of love. Thérèse insisted that love, not feelings, not accomplishments, is what sanctifies the soul. She wrote, "Love alone counts." And she lived this with stunning simplicity. Before beginning her duties, she often paused and said something like, "Jesus, I love you. Help me to love you more today." No flourish, no dramatic emotion, just tenderness, just truth. Love is the essence of the little way. It is the purpose behind humility, gratitude, surrender, and kindness. It is the thread that weaves your entire day into something pleasing to God. Imagine yourself in the quiet of your morning. The house is still, your heart is calm. You place your hand over your chest and whisper softly, "Jesus, I love you." This small offering rises quickly to heaven. It becomes the fragrance of your day. It becomes the anchor of your spirit. It becomes the light that shines in every small action that follows. And now, as we finish this journey, we return to the 3 questions that opened your heart in Block 1, but now with deeper meaning. Are you willing to let God be the first one you turn to in the morning? Are you willing to offer Him small acts done with great love? Are you willing to walk this simple path of spiritual childhood? Saint Thérèse of Lisieux would smile gently and answer for every soul who desires holiness in simplicity. Do small things with great love, and God will be pleased. Every morning,